Hey guys, alright, we are back with another episode of Geography. Now this time, Antigua and Barbuda. Barbuda. Now, based off these names, I believe that these are in the Mediterranean. We're gonna get our streak, well, I'm gonna get my streak back of getting the geography right on these places, because I messed up with Angola. I should have known Angola, let's be real. I should have. I messed up. But anyways, we're here now. Let's go ahead and just dive right in.
My Antigua don't want none unless you got Barbuda, son. Yeah, my first pop culture reference. I promise I'll never do that again.
It's time to learn geography.
That was creative, though. I'll hand it.
Hey everybody,
That was creative. I'll give it to him. I don't think I would have thought of that. I certainly wouldn't have thought of that. So, claps all around for Paul.
Your host, Paul Barbado. Today we're going to do Antigua and Barbuda. I'm a little excited because this country's a little bit easier. But first, you know the drill. Let's dissect the flag.
Yay, flag dissection. Science class.
The flag of Antigua and Barbuda is actually pretty cool. It was created in 1967 by Sir Reginald Samuel. The flag has a sun with a blue and white horizon covered by two red tapered triangles on the side. The sun representing the dawning of a new era, the black representing the black African ancestry of the people, the blue representing hope and the sea, and the white representing the sand. The red on the sides are cut down into a V shape to represent victory, and the red representing the vibrancy and the energy of the people. Now let's talk about where Antigua and Barbuda are located. Antigua and Barbuda are located in the Caribbean Sea, in the North American continent on the Western Hemisphere. The cool thing about Antigua and Barbuda's location is that even though it's located thousands of kilometers away from mainland Europe, technically you can still fly to France, England, and the Netherlands within a 30 to an hour-minute flight. That's because with the exception of St. Kitts and Nevis, all of Antigua and Barbuda's immediate neighbor nations and islands are overseas territories that still belong to the respective European mother nations. That means that technically you can go to Europe without ever crossing the Atlantic. Islands such as St.
That's what he meant.
Saba for the Netherlands, and Montserrat, Anguilla for the UK, and Guadeloupe for France, and St. Martin, which is technically owned by both the Netherlands and France. That one little crazy island has such a crazy backstory, but we'll cover that in another video. That's not a surprise though. For most of the 5 centuries of its past history, most of the islands in the Caribbean were occupied by European powers, including Antigua and Barbuda, who have been under mostly British rule for the majority of their recent history.
That's not British rule. That's English rule. It wasn't British rule until arguably the 1700s. I mean, you could make a claim that because of English rule over Ireland, that then they were technically Britain by then because of their control over Ireland. It's weird. I don't know. But before the Act of Union, England. Got you. Finally got Paul. Yes. Even though it's a very nitpicky mistake, I got one.
That is until 1981 when they gained their independence.
The country has 2 main islands, of course, Antigua, the main island in the south, and Barbuda, the relaxing getaway island, which is in the shape of a pig in the north. The capital is St. John's, located on Antigua.
I see the pig now.
Antigua is divided into 6 small parishes, and Redondo Island was nabbed by Antigua and Barbuda as it lies right in between St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat. Also, going to Barbuda is going to be a little bit trickier. All travelers will have to enter into Antigua first and then either charter a flight and take a ferry to Barbuda. Now that we know the location, let's talk about what the land actually looks like. The islands are mostly low-lying islands, the highest point being on Antigua, a volcanic crater named Mount Obama. That's right, in 2009, they named their highest point Mount Obama, even though prior to 2009, Obama had never been to that island, and as of 2014, he has yet to have gone to Antigua. Nonetheless, they named their highest point Mount Obama. Now, both of the islands have lots of beautiful coral reefs and natural lagoons, which have an abundance of aquatic wildlife, one of the most famous spots being Stingray City on Antigua. However, the problem is that both of the islands don't really have many natural freshwater resources. They have a few creeks, however, most of their freshwater is stored up in small ponds or reservoirs. Luckily, the islands get plenty of rainwater, and their desalination plants provide them with fresh water as well. Previously, the islands used to have a lot of fig trees. However, over the years, especially during British colonization, the islands were used for sugarcane plantations. Now, major crops include Saw Island cotton, locust fruit, and the famous Antiguan black pineapple. The thing is though, about 30% of the land is arable, but only about 18% of the land is used for farming and agriculture. The reason why is because most of the people in Antigua and Barbuda don't really care too much to go into the agriculture sector, and they like to go into the tourism sector because it pays more money. Most major crops are actually grown on family plots and sold at local markets. Fishing actually takes up a huge part of the economic industry, as well as the typical Antigua and Barbudan diet. Now, of course, like you would expect, Antigua and Barbuda have beautiful, pristine, white sandy beaches and lagoons and caves.
Chef's
as well as
kiss?
an amazing bird sanctuary on Barbuda.
Those birds look like they'll fuck you up. Those birds look like they'll fight you any day of the week and win and show no mercy. Watch out for those fucking birds.
Antigua actually has about 30 small islets, mostly privately owned by rich families or private clubs, including...
Hold on. Was that...
Privately owned by rich families or...
Is this owned by one club? Just like what, ultimately like one person or one group of people? Yeah, I see the sectioning off of plots of land here with like hedgerows or something. And then these are the poorer houses along here, as they don't have as much, looks like, land. But these look, what the fuck? I mean, it looks like as long as there ain't no hurricanes coming, probably a good place to live.
Private clubs, including the Mills Reef Club, which owns all of Green Island. Speaking of rich people, let's talk about the demographics.
Oh. Yeah.
Now, Antigua and Barbuda has about 86,000 people. About 91% of them are black, 4% are mixed, 2% are white, and 3% are other. Antiguans and Barbudans have a distinct culture that slightly differentiates them from the other Caribbean nations. The majority of the population, like other Caribbean islands, has a black majority that are descendants of former slaves used for plantation work during the British rule. Prior to the African and European inhabitants, however, Antigua and Barbuda were inhabited by the Siboney and the Arawaks and the Caribs. It wasn't until Christopher Columbus passed by in the 15th century and named one of the islands Santa Maria la Antigua, or Saint Maria the Ancient, and Barbuda, which means the bearded, which could possibly be referenced to the bearded tribesmen that Columbus witnessed as he passed through the islands. Finally, in 1632, the British were the first people to successfully colonize the islands, and today the Amerindian population is actually pretty small. There's only a few hundred left.
Ooh,
however, it's very possible that
boy.
many people have Amerindian heritage passed down on their line of ancestry on the islands. As a former British colony, of course English is the official language. However, they speak with a distinct Antiguan and Barbudan dialect. Many of the words are abbreviated and slightly changed based off of the words that they derive from. For example, I will make we go in there. Ta menatink being serious. The vast majority of people live on the island of Antigua.
What did he just say? I did not know that they had... That's a pretty different dialect there. That's interesting.
But with only about 2,000 people living on Barbuda. What Barbuda lacks in people, though, it definitely makes up in tourism, as every single day, tons and tons of people flock to that area to check out some of the most amazing beaches.
Ooh, those beaches.
And tourism sites that it offers. So that's what the people look like in Antigua and Barbuda. Now let's talk about the people that they get along with in the friend zone.
USA and England, maybe.
Now, when it comes to friends, Antigua and Barbuda pretty much get along with everybody. They don't have any international disputes. However, the countries that stick out the most are probably going to be the US and the UK and Venezuela. The US and UK because they have the largest economic holding on Antigua and Barbuda, and Venezuela because they are a huge business partner. As a member of CARICOM, or the Caribbean Community, Antigua and Barbuda pretty much gets along with all the other nations of the Caribbean, and especially, most distinctively, the ones that speak English, like Jamaica, Barbados, Grenada, Dominica. However, in terms of their best friend, Antigua and Barbuda might probably consider St. Kitts and Nevis their best friend, considering the fact that they are like the four brothers that have gone through all of the British colonization period together.
Yeah, and they're right next to each other, too.
And they just get along really well. Plus, there's only about 40 nautical miles between them. They do like to compete a lot with each other, though. In conclusion, Antigua and Barbuda are two powerhouse islands, voted as the best place to have a wedding in 2014. It's no surprise that Antigua and Barbuda are the gems that stand out in the Caribbean. Stay tuned, peeps. Armenia is coming up next.
Well,
Hey peeps, thanks a lot for your support on my channel. Just a few side notes. I accidentally said Armenia. I meant Argentina.
okay. This was really well done. I think this is gonna be actually one of those. I think I said this in Angola as well. This one was pretty well paced. Just because of how small the nation is, I don't think this is one of the videos, like as I've said numerous times, I don't think this one is one of those videos that I think needs to be revisited because it's so small. I mean, you could go in depth more about the colonial history, but this is geography, so that's not necessary. It's not a big country. So I think the 7 minutes that they covered here on Antigua and Barbuda was good. I think it was enough. I don't, nothing stands out to me as to something maybe they could have explored more. Maybe more on the demographics. Would have been neat to hear about. A little bit more on the demographics, like how the people live here. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, that was Geography Now, Antigua and Barbuda. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Leave a suggestion down below for what you want to see me react to next, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.